page or YouTube channel. On Dependency, we don't just share stories, we change lives. Don't miss it. This Sunday, special start time, 10:15 a.m. I-95.5 FM and Forned Bigfoot share words of wisdom from Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni. We are currently in a state of war, a war without guns and bullets, a war without human soldiers, a war without borders, a war without ceasefire agreements, a war without a war room, a war without sacred zones.
During a war, you are thankful to God for seeing another day in the land of the living.
A COVID-19 message from I-95.5 FM. We can win this war. Stay inside. The Institute of Marine Affairs presents Below the Blue. Below the Blue. Exploring the Caribbean deep and harnessing its benefits. Join us and our international expert panel to explore the economic potential of our seabed resources. UWI's Professor Judith Gobin will deliver the distinguished lecture, World Oceans Day, June 8th at 1 p.m. and live on the most influential name in radio, I-95.5 FM.
St. Agnes Anglican Church of number 20 Clarence Street, St. James presents their grand fundraising car raffle in aid of the construction of their new rectory. The first prize, second and third prizes are 3 Hyundai Atos motor vehicles. This grand raffle would be drawn on Saturday, July 31st at the St. Agnes Church compound. Tickets cost $100 and are available at the parish office 628-2885 Crosby's St. James 6227-622 St. Paul's Anglican Church 652-2182 or call Mary Budu Singh at 716-0839 and Marcia King at 680-2625.
This Sunday on episode 23 of Ion Dependency, reality radio at its best.
Number one company! Move to the right, Therese! Right! Turn!
So, you want to join the army, but do you understand the institution?
Being in the military is a contract between an individual and an institution.
Do you get the point that it's a career?
If you're looking for a job, go down and you will be tested physically and mentally to the extreme.
And does your family completely understand their role?
Family support is invaluable to the demand of its function of a soldier.
This Sunday on On Dependency, we examine the making of a soldier with retired Colonel Lyle Alexander, Major Doddridge Jack, and Regimental Sergeant Major Gilbert Modeste. Do you have what it takes? Then listen live this Sunday at a special start time, 10:15 a.m. on I-95.5 FM or watch live on the I On Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. I On Dependency. We don't just share stories, we change lives. Don't miss it. This Sunday, special start time, 10:15 a.m.
There is a breed of man people don't seem to understand. Walking with boots and gun arm, some of them wearing stripe on their hand. Everywhere he go, people ridiculing him, saying how he waste taxpayers' money. But in times of crisis, you could depend on he. He's always able to assist. You will agree, he is a soldier. Sort of the earth of the secret post. He is a soldier. Destined to secure the hills of the earth. Climbing on Sylvie Street with no clothes to wear, no food to eat. Up come this army chief and soldier tell he time to change the beat. Then for 16 weeks they train him to march and shoot, clean the bars, make and shine up he boots. And when in disgust he feel like he barely bust, they make him push till he know making it is a must. He is a soldier, right of the earth of the secret post. He is a soldier, destined to join the fields of At 4 o'clock each day he's out of bed and on his way, because he must make muster before they say he lost the bed. From 6:30 he working physically to be fit to fight to serve the community. Then all day he providing security, because he signed to guard and defend this great country. He is a soldier, right of the earth of the secret post. He is a soldier, destined to join the fields of
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to our Dependency at this special time.
Yes. Good morning.
You know, we have to make adjustments on the trot to suit the national effort in curbing the spread of this deadly virus.
Indeed.
And so we, management has decided to make this change just for the while. We no longer go by this coming week, you will find out more. But for now, this morning we are on. We are to thank Tracy for the time spent with you all. I know it was short, but you know, call it the exigencies of the service. Morning, Natasha.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to our Independency. It seems very odd to say that this time of day, but here we are, and we want to get right into our program this morning.
Yes, you know, because time really flies.
Yes.
When we, you know, educating.
Yep.
And so we have a nice package for you today. This is a very timely and important program.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of you out there, by the way, we're broadcasting live on the, of course, I-95 Facebook page, the Dependency Facebook page, and also our YouTube channel.
And
of course, I-95.5 FM. Welcome to the radio listeners. So
forget you.
You may want to log on at some point on the Facebook page, because we have some very interesting videos to show you, which will include a short tour of the passing out, just recently passing out, joint passing out parade. History was made where the Air Guard, Coast Guard, and Regiment had a passing out parade where the Minister of National Security delivered the feature address. We put some excerpts from that, and we're going to show you that in a while. Also, we have some a short video on the Special Forces that Major Jack will be speaking about, among other things. We start with Colonel Lyle Alexander, who will speak to the institution and give you a little history of the reserves and who can join the reserves, Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force Reserves. And we'll also have on the phone retired Sergeant Major, Regimental Sergeant Major Gilbert Modeste, who is a wealth, of course, with these gentlemen, they carry a wealth of knowledge and experience of the military. And just recently, 2019, there was a center that was commissioned at Tetron Bars called the Army Learning Center, where the conference room was named after Mr. Modeste, and the library was named after Major Jack. So you understand how important these gentlemen are with regards to military, right? And Natasha, and as I said, they come with a wealth of knowledge, that a lot of years of experience. And of course, we will start with Colonel Lyle Alexander, who will give us a brief history on the institution and what to expect. Now, a lot of you out there want to join the military. We know that. A lot of youngsters, you're fascinated by the guns, you're fascinated by the uniform, the camouflage, all of these things, you're fascinated. But do you really understand what it takes to be a soldier? Do you really understand? And your families and friends, do they understand? This morning, the object of the exercise here is to get you a fair understanding of what to expect when you join the military. And for those who are there, what is expected of you. That's that's the object of the exercise today. And we hope at the end of it, you all will have a very clear understanding of the military and what is expected of the intended and incumbent. So
also for members of the public. No, just for members of the public, because we know that there are sentiments in the wider society about the military and about soldiers in particular. Perhaps why do we have an army? What is the purpose of this group of men and women, and how do they serve our country? How do they help us to be an independent nation, sovereign nation?
Yeah. And of course, for those of you who still question that we are an independent nation, and that was one of the terms and conditions in getting our independence, we must have boots on the ground to protect us. And those are the, of course, these gentlemen will go into that. So we'll go to a break, and we'll have Colonel Lyle Alexander, retired, Major Doddridge Jack, retired, and Regimental Sergeant Major Gilbert Modeste, retired. He'll be on the phone, and we'll have the Colonel and the Major live on Facebook with us, and they will take us through the paces this morning. So stay right there. Tell your friends, share this. For those of you, people who are enthusiastic about joining the army, and you in the community who have children or friends or family who want to join the military, then let them know.
We didn't say good morning to Roger, who is furiously trying to get things done during the program this morning.
Yes.
He was dumped in the deep end this morning, but we hope that that what we're discussing today will probably help him to move it along.
Tom Jones this morning.
So we go to that break, and we'll be back after
with these esteemed gentlemen.
Yes.
Stay right there.
Stay at home. Stay. Stay at home. Stay away from people. You have been warned.
Agricola is back with loan promotions that will make you go wow! The computer and internet bundle CIB loan. Get a maximum of $15,000 with just a 0.75% interest rate. Call or come into our offices at Bro Queen Street, Arima, 667-7633. Pamela's Mall, Marabella, 219-7745. Scarborough, Tobago, 639-6468. Or Port of Spain, 627-3127. Agricola Credit Union, your very own, working for you.
Confused or worried about symptoms during the COVID-19 pandemic? If you only have a runny nose or are sneezing, you may have a cold or allergies. Have you lost your sense of taste or smell? Are you experiencing shortness of breath? These are common symptoms of COVID-19. Coughing, fatigue, and fever are all symptoms of both flu and COVID-19. If you have a temperature above 38 degrees Celsius or 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit, call your local healthcare provider or hotline for medical advice and ask whether you need a COVID-19 test. If you have any COVID-19 symptoms or are waiting for test results, stay home and isolate from other members of your household. Drink fluids and eat well. Always wear a mask if you're in the same room as others. If you test positive for COVID-19, follow your healthcare provider's advice. If at any time you experience a danger sign like difficulty breathing, chest pain, confusion, loss of speech or mobility, don't wait. Seek medical care immediately. Remember, you can prevent colds, flu and COVID-19 by following a few basic precautions. Stay safe and protect each other. We're in this together. Know your risk, lower your risk.
La Sociedad de Crisis de Violación desea anunciar la línea gratuita y bilingüe para violencia de género, 866-7428. Este servicio es gratuito, confidencial y profesional. Está disponible entre 6 p.m. y 6 a.m. todos los días de la semana. Nuestros interlocutores entrenados pueden hablar contigo en español e inglés y pueden escucharte, guiarte o darte la información necesaria. Llámanos a 866-7428. Recuerda, mi voz es tu voz.
Agricola is back with loan promotions that will make you go wow! Wow! The computer and internet.
Hello, my name is Raquel, a trainee inmate at HMP Drake Hall, Staffordshire, England, and you're listening to Iron Dependency with Garth and Natasha. Please, people, don't traffic drugs. The money is all that nice. It's not worth it.
There is a breed of man people don't seem to understand. Walking with boots and gun arms. Some of them wearing.
All right, and to the voice of Major Doddridge Jack, that's his composition. And ran to the studio and did this so that we could debut it this morning. So you're hearing this for the first time on I-95.5 and Dependency. And congratulations to Major Jack. We always competed together at the regimental calypso competition. So he's no stranger to this game. So gentlemen, we have them live on the phone and on Facebook. Good morning. Welcome to our Dependency.
Good morning.
Morning, we're hearing you. Great.
We hear Major Jack, Colonel Alexander. Morning.
Good morning. From Natasha.
Right.
You never heard that one before, Douglas? Combined many years ago, but was brought to the fore because of this offer from God.
Right.
Many years ago.
Shortly, we have to make some adjustments on the Colonel's volume so we could hear him a little clearer. We could hear him clearer. And of course, on the phone, we have Mr. Gilbert Modeste. Good morning, Sir Major.
Morning, Nat. Morning, Natasha.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much for giving us your time. And of course, in service to country, we thank you very much for affording us this opportunity. Now, we have to press on because of, as I said, time normally would just creep away from us when you're educating. You know how that is, gentlemen. So, Colonel Lyle Alexander, we give you the honor and thank you for consenting to start this morning proceedings by telling us about the military, the institution, and what the public should know.
Thanks, Dad. Thank you. If I understand the context of the discussion this morning, was to try to appeal to a particular constituency, a particular group of people who may have a desire to join the military. And having been there and having seen it, I would encourage anyone, if they have an opportunity to join the military, to take it, because it is an an opportunity that will live with them in their life. But it is necessary, I think, to understand the military as an institution, because most people maybe see people walking around now with uniforms and get attracted to the uniforms and attracted to the big trucks and everything else and the weapons and so on, and think that that is what it is. But the reality is, are you guys hearing me?
Yes, sir. We hear you now.
Okay. Yeah. I was saying that the military is, notwithstanding that picture, it's necessary for us to understand what you're getting into. And within the context of the country, the military has a particular role in the life of the country. So a lot of people, the military is there to respond to an attack against the country. In a sense, that is in fact the purpose of it. When there is no attack, this institution, this organization that exists in this country has the ability to impact the lives of everyone who lives in the country. Once they are tasked to satisfy and implement activities determined by the government of the day. The institution, therefore, has to be ready to respond to any circumstance. We can use our own military here as an example over our lifetime, where circumstances that ranged from to the emergency at the airport, when there were challenges at the airport, when the strikes around in the sugar industry, in the fuel industry. From time to time, it comes to the fore, to the rescue, so to speak, of the country. So it is an institution that's available to the government on the day to maintain a level of stability and order in the country. And it is necessary, I think, to make the distinction between the stability of the country and law and order. The primary agency for law and order is the police. The military can be used time to time.
We're having some.
Someone decides to.
Hang on a minute, please. Shortman, is there any way we could correct that? They're having a lot of static and feedback. So we definitely can make some of it.
Maybe you need to turn off your speaker.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to turn off your speaker. Turn on.
So if you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency for the first time or at a new time this morning. We always have to make adjustments to suit any national interest. So, Major Jack, by the time the colonel sort out his end. Right. Mr. Modeste, if you have a radio on too, you need to take it off, or you're too close to the device, you need to step away from it too, because it will pick up the feedback as well. Because the colonel was giving some really valuable.
People and our listeners on Facebook are saying that they're having some issues with with the audio as well. So we apologize. We will try to sort it out as we go along. But
Yeah.
Colonel, if you're back with us, could you continue and let's see how that goes?
I'm trying to.
Yeah, this is
That's a really bad connection.
Yes, that's really bad connection. So let's take a quick break and let's see if we can sort this out. We'll be right back. A little patience we ask of you, listener and viewers. We'll be back. Stay right there.
This Sunday on episode 23 of Ion Dependency, reality radio at its best.
Number one company! Move to the right, Therese! Right! Turn!
So, you want to join the army, but do you understand the institution?
Being in the military is a contract between an individual and an institution.
Do you get the point that it's a career?
If you're looking for a job, go join the army. You will be tested physically and mentally to the extreme.
And does your family completely understand their role?
Family support is invaluable to the demand of its function as a soldier.
This Sunday on Eye on Dependency, we examine the making of a soldier with retired Colonel Lyle Alexander, Major Doddridge Jack, and Regimental Sergeant Major Gilbert Modeste. Do you have what it takes? Then listen live this Sunday at a special start time, 10:15 a.m. on I-95.5 FM, or watch live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories, we change lives. Don't miss it. This Sunday, special start time, 10:15 a.m. I-95.5 FM and Darren Sandy share words of wisdom from Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni. We are currently in a state of war, a war without guns and bullets, a war without human soldiers, a war without borders, a war without ceasefire agreements, a war without a war room, a war without sacred zones.
Thankfully, this army has a weakness, and it can be defeated. It only requires our collective action, discipline, and forbearance. COVID-19 cannot survive social and physical distancing. It only thrives when you confront it. It loves to be confronted. It capitulates in the face of collective social and physical distancing. It bows before good personal hygiene. It is helpless when you take your destiny in your own hands by keeping them sanitized as often as possible.
A COVID-19 message from I-95.5 FM. We can win this war. Stay inside.
All right, folks, thank you very much. Let's see if we could get back right into it. And Major Jack, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Right, we hear
yes,
you.
I'm hearing you, guys.
Right, and
are you hearing me clearly as well?
Yes, we are.
Right, Mr. Modeste, are you there?
Loud and clear.
All right.
So, gentlemen, by the time the colonel is getting squared away, Major, you want to introduce this? Let's go forward. Yourself and Mr. Modeste.
Okay. I would start. Now, it all starts with an advertisement. Trinidad and Tobago Regiment will be recruiting people on such and such a date between the hours of such and such a time at locations designated. You hear me?
Yes, I'm Major. Loud and clear. Go ahead.
So, all the hopefuls, those who think that they want to be soldiers, those who think in Congo, they will line up. I want to remind people that if you're looking for a job, it might not be the ideal place to go at the Army Recruiting Center. However, if you're pursuing a career, military career.
Sir Major, there's a radio playing in your background?
No, something just passing there. You hearing anything?
Or is it, yeah, hearing like somebody singing in the background?
No. No, not at all. A truck just passed as selling what? It's clear now?
Yes, go ahead.
Good. As I said, if you're pursuing a career, a military career, it's the best place to go. Of course, you would go through a series of elimination because they might only want so much and so many will come. However, those who are selected would go down to the barracks, get all the necessary kit and all of that, and made to swear to guard and defend to serve the country and all of that. Now, when you get in there, you would meet, of course, with the first set of people you would meet, of course, are the instructors. And they would give you the first initiative, or the first introduction, I want to say, about military discipline. Now, discipline, everybody have discipline. You would have where you get up at X time, you do what you have to do X time, you go to work at X time, you exercise at X time. That is discipline. But they have two types of discipline. Self-discipline and forced discipline. On the forced discipline side, it extends to military discipline. And that is where some of the people fade out. Those who think or those who thought it was something wrong would want to leave. Because as I said, the instructors going to introduce you to military discipline. That is where they will teach you to dress a certain way, to make up your bed a certain way, to answer people a certain way. The other day, you hear me, God?
Yes, loud and clear. Yes.
The other day, a lady asked me, Mr. Modeste, why when soldiers talking to senior people, they have to stamp? I said, stamp? She said, yes, putting the foot down hard on things. I said, that is a form of discipline. Military discipline. Respect. And that is where everything starts. Now, everything in the army is formed on drills. The military want to prepare a soldier who will be proud, disciplined, and have other qualities. Obedience being one of them. A key one, obedience. Because that is what makes a soldier react when certain instructions are given. So it starts there. You have any questions so far?
Yeah, it's Major. So that introduction, and then there are people who would realize, look, they made the wrong choice.
Yes.
At some point.
Yes, yeah. They say this is not for them.
Right. And what you think that would be because of tested what physically, mentally?
Well, I'm coming on to that.
Right.
Having going through that little phase, you're going to be tested to your utmost. Physically, mentally, and otherwise. Because, in my opinion and experience, that phase of your training prepares you for what you're going to do or what you would be in your future. I always say it's a brainwashing. It's a brainwashing between the instructor and you. He brainwashes you. Most soldiers, most soldiers or recruits, I would say, when they pass out, which is at the end of the initial basic training, they feel that they are the best thing that God gives to man. They're the best thing on earth. That is because of the training.
Right.
During that training, you are taught everything: physical fitness, weapons, fieldcraft. Your trend are taught as a civilian against being a soldier. That is why when most recruits go home, especially on the 6 weeks follow, people find it different. As a soldier, you'll realize that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So when you finish that phase, you would be on what you call probation, a probationary period, which you, of course, you are being assessed all the time. Eh? You are being assessed to prove that they have hope in you, or they see some form of hope in where they could make a soldier out of you. Because even when you finish your initial training, most experienced soldiers, old soldiers, tell you you are no soldier yet.
Right, that's right.
Right?
Yes.
Still a recruit, or as they like to say, a sweat.
Yes.
The term sweat come because as a recruit you're always sweating. So they call you a sweat. You're always sweating. Your back always wet.
Yes, yes. Even in sleep
Right?
and all.
Right. So you are required to fulfill certain obligations every year, military obligations, which involves the running, the shooting, the map reading, and all that. All those things are part of your training of a soldier. As a soldier, you will be required to assist when the country needs you. The country, I always believe, soldiers, apart from the requirements when we got independence, I always say soldiers are the tools of the government, because they clothe us, they feed us, and we are expected to perform when they need us.
So, Major, 1 second. Just let the audience know you're listening to Dependency at a special time until the curfew hours have been readjusted again or removed. And so we'll be here this morning at 10:15. We're speaking with Colonel Lyle Alexander, retired Colonel Lyle Alexander, Major retired Doddridge Jack, and Regimental Sergeant Major Modeste, who we have on the phone. Mr. Modeste, both Major Jack and Colonel Alexander, we have them on live on Facebook. So, Major, you could hold 1 second because I have a couple more questions to ask you. Major Jack, welcome. And
yeah, thank you for the invitation, God, and good morning to the listening public.
And is the Colonel back with us?
Yes, he is.
Right. Colonel, can you hear us? Let's see how that.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Right, we hear you a little better. Let's hope that maintains. All right, so Major, you could jump in here, and then we go back to the Colonel.
Well, then, continuing from what has been offered before, I want to say that discipline and order are the bedrock on which the military stands. And I would add that the impact of the military is really honed over time through the cornerstone of a very strong training regime. As Mr. Modeste said, you are introduced to basic training. As the years pass and you remain within the ranks, you are afforded the privilege of developmental training in military and non-military skills. Then, when that time comes for you to part company with the force, you are afforded the privilege of training called resettlement training. I won't go into the technical of that, but I needed to put that in perspective to emphasize the development of a way of life. The military is really a way of life in which you are part of several things. Personal development, teamwork, normally referred to the camaraderie that exists between soldiers, the esprit de corps, which contributes to the building of morale within the companies and so on that you serve. And indeed, that way of life is what should be the greatest benefit to the community at large that we serve.
Right.
By this I mean, I like to put a spin on the way of life that is the military. And I always like to add to that, it really and truly is driven by the principle of positive outcomes. So all the discipline, force or self and otherwise, all developed into this way of life built on camaraderie, teamwork, and service. And it is really driven by a principle of positive outcomes. I mean, among the military jargon here from time to time, nothing affects the aim. You know, you move from point A to point B. At the end of the day, you get the job done. So within there is what I see as the greatest impact of the individual who has passed through the military process and who works in the military to the community at large, because you will carry that behavior back into your own village, your own community, and so on and so forth. You know, so those are the things. And I just wanted to add one thing from that the Colonel was mentioning about our response to crisis. I wanted to remind us about the postal crisis we had when we became postal agents, you know, sorting mail and all those kinds of things.
And I think that the gas crisis too as well was added to that too, right?
Yes.
And and of course, well, we could just go back to the Colonel for a minute, because Major Jack, we have a video to show you that you are foundation member of Special Forces, and we have serving members who, most of them, a lot of them would like to become members of Special Forces, and so you'll speak to that unit as well after we show that short video. And of course, we have something to show you all on drill. I know you'll all find it funny, but you speak to the aspects of drill as well. I think the Sergeant Major could touch on that. But Colonel Alexander, could you just touch a little more on what you were saying? And of course, we have don't forget we have Natasha here with us as well, who's sitting very quietly listening.
Yeah. Okay. Are you hearing me better now?
Much better.
Right. Okay. What has been said by Sergeant Modeste and Major Jack were in fact related to what I was saying earlier on in terms of the institution, and I was trying to address specifically those people who have an interest in joining the organization.
Lovely.
And to get them to get their heads in the space that puts them in a place to understand that when you become a member of the military, you are becoming a select member of a special group of people who have a task as a whole, as an institution. We have to understand that, because the institution responds to the needs of the government, as pointed out by Mr. Modeste, who spoke about it being a tool of the government. So the institution has to be prepared to respond at a moment's notice. So everything that is done, all the training that you go through, is to be able to condition every single person who joins this institution. And it is important to understand here that the institution accepts all types. There's no discrimination in terms of who can join and who should join. You have the selection test. There's a criteria that you have to pass. But once you get in, we then all become members of this institution. So the responses are coming to the public from the institution. To a large extent, sometimes based on the reasons why you join and why you are attracted to the military, that people are actually in conflict with themselves. But that is, as we go along, that will probably come out. I'll be able to explain that a little better down the road. So when people may come in thinking that I want to be a member of this institution, I like how this uniform looks, I want to wear that uniform. But when you actually get in, to a large extent, you have to temper your own desires to that of the institution. And sometimes, like I said, I'm sure there are many of us who have served, and maybe even who are still serving, who are in conflict with ourselves from time to time because of that.
Right.
That much I'll say for now.
Colonel, I want to expand on that point, because there are a lot of people, as you say, who want to be a part of that kind of unit, and enjoy all of the things that Major Jack spoke about, the esprit de corps, the camaraderie, the discipline, the training. But they aren't aware, I suppose, that they have to be transformed from a civilian to a serving member of the military. And that transformation can be fraught with what you just mentioned, that internal conflict. How does one resolve that conflict in a way that advances your opportunities and your career in the military?
Well, it has a significant impact on your career, so to speak, because the thing is, if you want to be in the military, if that is what you want to be, then you have to understand that this military, this institution, and I really am stuck on using the term institution because it's important that we get to understand that and appreciate it. It's not about how good you look as an individual. Yes, you look fantastic. Your family they'd like to see you. But at the same time, you have to now see yourself as a part of a bigger picture. And to deal with the question you asked, Natasha, about that conflict. Look, if over time you can't resolve in your own mind that, look, this conflict is a little too much for me, and I can't make it, this is not where I'm supposed to be, then appreciate the training that you would have gained up to that point and say, look, let me use these skills that I have, let me use this training because it would have transformed you physically and mentally to some extent, and try to make the best that I can of this training in another area. Don't try to stick with it in the military and try to fight your way through. The institution will always be bigger than you.
Yes.
All right. So we have to understand that it is, there's no love lost by the institution, no love lost on your side. You just can't make it,
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency this morning from 10:15. We finish at 12, and we are speaking with some esteemed gentlemen from the regiment who spent their time in the Trinidad and Tobago regiment, taking you through the paces of what it means to be a soldier, what the makings of a soldier. You want to join the military, fine, but there are certain things you need to know, and your family as well. Before we go to that break, quickly, let's go back to Major Jack for a minute. Major Jack, you wanted to add anything to that? And then we'll get something from Mr. Modeste before we go to the break. So, Major Jack, you wanted to jump in again?
Well, after that eloquent expression of the institution by the Colonel, and in taking on board the mention or the mention of transformation by Natalie, I just want to say that the transformation starts in the context of your basic training, and through the years that you spend, you have the opportunity to grow even more. And as the Colonel rightly said, it's a really a mind thing, a very personal thing in that regard, because you have to be a part of a bigger whole, which is the institution, and will be called upon and would be expected to participate in the mission of the organization and represent the as part of a team, represent the institution well, you know. And I would just like to re-emphasize that if there's anything that a person who has been exposed to the experience of the way of life of the military should take away from the exercise or embody, it's that you develop values. You go through a phase of self-discovery, which could mean quite a lot, even to your family, the way you raise your family. And of course, you are respected in the broader community if you represent the institution well in that community. So it's really a case of win all if properly entered into.
No, thank you very much, Major. And I could let's ask you, both you gentlemen, to comment on short. Man, if you could go to video E. Let's show that first. Gentlemen, be talking about drill now as a discipline.
I wanted
yes, Major, go ahead.
Now before you show that,
before we show it, Major,
I wanted when I said drills, when I was saying it is for Michael Van drills, I wasn't talking about necessarily the parade square drills.
Understood. Yeah.
But I want to say something too. The Colonel touched on a good point that I was hoping we wanted to discuss as far as the discipline is concerned. Now there are some people, professional people, who would have a yearning, an urge to serve or to subject themselves to military discipline.
Right.
We have quite a lot in the reserves of what used to be the volunteer defense force. Now those are people, professional, who come out, would join. Now they have the profession or they have the job, and they have the urge to join the institution. They too will be subjected to the same thing, the same amount of training, exposure. They too are expected to contribute in times of crisis. So, in a nutshell, the discipline is not solely for people who really want to make a career from let us say youth, from teenage 1920, but those two who are well into their professional career, judge, lawyer, doctor, we have those type of people in this institution too.
Right, and you're speaking of the reserves here now.
Of course.
Right. And as Colonel Alexander, we were going to ask the Colonel to elaborate on that, but since you touched on it, there are people out there who would like to join the reserves. What's the age group and the cutoff point for someone who wants to join the reserve? Like we have Roger here, who always call him a toy soldier, and I feel he could be a soldier, and I know he's one of them who will jump in a reserve uniform in the morning. But tell us about the reserves.
I would just go to the basics. I will leave the main requirements to the colonel, but it was between the ages of 25 to 35, and of course they should be employed.
Okay.
Right.
That's a part of the criteria.
That's part of the criteria. Of course, you will have to go through the necessary your requirements.
Right.
You know, you have to produce what you have to produce. You'll have to undertake what you have to undertake. You understand?
Understood. Understood.
Well,
Yeah, nothing. Because the main thing is that when called upon to assist the regulars, they must be able to sing in the same hymn book. Otherwise, we'll have problems.
Understood.
Yes.
All right.
No, I just wanted to mention before we go to that video, to remind people that the word discipline means servant. It's from disciple, right? So when we talk in military or discipline in general, or military discipline, it means you are submitting yourself to a higher authority, which is the institution that the colonel has mentioned. So it is in fact, I mean, when you think about it, it's like you're going into rehab. Really, you're submitting yourself to this higher power, and operating in a way that is prescribed by the institution.
Yeah.
Everything, you're transforming yourself into a different person by way of the law of this institution. So I mean, for me as a civilian, that's a good way to look at it. And I hope that, and we will get onto this later, but in terms of the family and the wives, especially wives and husbands of soldiers, and how they treat with, as civilians, that kind of rigor and rigorous discipline that soldiers have to display.
Right. So, gentlemen, we have to keep it a little tighter so as we go along, because we want everybody to see what we have.
Yeah.
Colonel, and we start with you again. Would you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to develop a little bit on this whole question of discipline as well, because in the minds of people, sometimes when you hear discipline, what comes to mind is either one, not being able to do what you think you would need to do, or punishment, so to speak, if you do something that you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is this: the training that we go through is not for that purpose, right? What it really does, it enables you as a person to come to terms with the priorities of life. What is the priority for the moment? And let me use again and as an example, the institution being called upon by the government to do something. So today an announcement is made that whatever the military is required to do X. At that stage of the game, this organization has been sitting, being trained, being fed and watered for a period of time to be able to respond to the country when required. So this is when. So at that time, at that moment, the priority is the institutional needs. And the discipline here is that the decision is made at that point in time that this is what is required. This is the priority, established priority. At that stage of the game, all other priorities take a lower position on this order of priorities. So, and the key thing here is that an acceptance of the individuals that as a member of this institution, I have to be ready at a moment's notice to be able to make a decision to follow X priority, because this priority has been determined, not necessarily by me, but has been determined, and there is where I need to put my efforts, all my efforts, to make sure that happens. So the discipline really is not, like I said, I'm kind of fixated on this idea of the institution.
Yes.
Because I think unless people do not appreciate you becoming a member of that institution and your role in that institution, And how
Colonel,
important you are as a person as well in that institution.
right now the other institution, which was the Volunteer Defense Force, now reserves, you were commanding officer of the reserves at one time. They are just as important as the other institution.
Oh, it is very, and the thing about it is that from the reserves perspective, yes, they're members of the institution as we know it. However, there's a bigger requirement for the country as a whole to understand where the reserves fits into the institution and how it fits into the institution. And what do I mean by that? Just to break it down into reality is that these are members of this institution who will be professionals in their own right, who are actually living in the communities. They go on a daily basis, they're in their communities. The people who are the regular organization, are in military communities on a regular basis, on a routine basis. So as a whole, the country now has to come to terms with how do we deal with this, where piece of this institution already resides in our community. So there's a requirement then for a more strategic look from the country's perspective in terms of how the reserves fits into the wider organization. I would prefer to leave this, for the time being,
okay,
not being involved in the military at that level anymore.
Right.
So I just want to plant that seed because it's a bigger picture. But to answer your question specifically, they are just as important, and just to stretch it point a little bit, even more so because they may even be able to respond faster to situations because they're already in the communities that they're operating on in a routine basis.
Okay. Well, we have
I'll leave it for that for the time.
Right. So we have greetings from retired Brigadier General Carl Alfonso, and he says morning to you all, and as he refers to the reserves as the weekend warriors. Major Jack, you wanted to add to that?
Yes. Yeah, just briefly, and it's really catching on to something that Natasha said earlier when she was trying to define discipline. I'll just input this quotation, which was shared with me as a young soldier by the deceased Major Julian Spencer, was my OC. May his soul rest in peace. And he gave this, it's an anonymous quotation about discipline. Discipline is not measured by punishments received for breaches of rules, but by the attempts made by individuals to adhere to rules all the time. That has never left me after all these years, and I feel it so appropriate for the broader community at this stage. So you could say that from a point of view of the institution, which I represent, even as a retiree, is sharing with the community the value of self-discipline. Don't break the rules to be punished. Exercise self-discipline, and it will help even in our current crises.
Right.
Yes.
So, gentlemen, we want to go to those videos now. We have one of somebody. Let's let the public understand the stages that you all go through, and we can speak to drill here now. And I know the Samaja will make a contribution here. But we have a video of a young man struggling, learning to march.
So young.
Remind me of a batch of mine named Collimore. When somebody recommended to take him in the back and shoot it because the boy couldn't drill to save his life. But you're like, just take a look at this video first and you'll see what I'm talking about.
And have one in every batch, right?
Yeah, there's one in every batch. I can assure you that. But what we're looking at here, radio audience, is someone really struggling to keep in time with the rest of the group.
To march.
To march,
A simple
right?
task
Mark
like march it.
No, we get those in our military as well. And the instructors now, like, look what this instructor doing. I remember Bolan taking my batch and saying, doing around, pretend you're hearing Tassa. And he was doing doop, 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 doop. So while we going left, he and Dunaran was going right with his Tassa, and Mr. Bolan playing Tassa. But this instructor here is struggling to show this young man how to mark time even.
Yes.
And now instructors here in the regiment would get a lot of people like that. And then they have to work hard. And you know, there are some people who can walk and chew gum at the same time. So Major, you all know that you met a lot of them. Colonel, you were CO training company at the time when we trained. And of course, Major Jack was on training wing. So you gentlemen could understand what you're seeing here is real, right? And you know, I mean, this is not from training, but it's the same thing obtains. And then,
but this is such a simple exercise. You would think that
some people could actually get it.
Anybody could, anybody could raise their foot one after the other in some kind of rhythm. But
yeah, you know, there are people who walk on the street properly, but put rhythm to it until they march.
Oh, and Lord!
The right hand side move with the right leg, right foot. You know, the instructor actually gave him a bear hug. Now, short man, go to the next video now, which is a drill instructor now. After they whip them into shape, this is what the public don't see all of this, when training go. Poor fella. This will bring back some memories, especially to you, Major Jack, and of course the Colonel and Mr. Modeste.
And I suppose the gentleman as well after the video can speak to the importance of drill to the same concept of discipline that we're talking about.
So you could do.
He's very enthusiastic.
Yes.
He would be a drill sergeant.
Yeah, but of course he's maybe the platoon sergeant, you know, trying to sharpen them up.
Yes.
Gentlemen, you seeing this, right?
Yeah. Most of music, and it just goes to show the energy.
Yes.
That is put into achieving the goal in the context of the institution, because remember, drill is the basis of teamwork.
Right.
So you have to, within your individual self, grow to be able to do to make your contribution to this whole thing. That's an energetic platoon sergeant.
Yes. Oh yes.
I love it, Major and Colonel. Why? Because I could have seen myself in that role too, and what he did there. Trust me, I could have seen, because I had loved drill, really, really loved drill. And Sam Major, you could jump in here. You understand the progression, right? When a recruit comes in, you try to get him to drill and to bring him to the parade stage.
Yes, the lighter moment of it is what you see now.
Right.
At that point in time, it was a serious challenge.
Sam Major might remember, when we trained, it was not uncommon to hear we have two platoons at the time. You know, Alfonso called us the small batch.
Yes.
But it was not uncommon, while number one platoon is going through its paces, to hear the platoon sergeant from the next platoon passing our platoon going towards the sea.
Yes.
I'm telling a recruit, I will drown you, boy. Marching him into the sea to get it right.
Oh Lord.
You know, guys, if I could just chime in here.
Yes, please, Colonel.
But the sweat is real.
If I could just chime in here.
God, you will know that.
Yeah.
The sweat is real.
Yes, Major, the Colonel wanted to jump in here.
Yes.
Yeah, but as I said, it's important to first not to lose the lesson that's here when we talk about the military being non-discriminatory as an institution. All types come in, everybody comes in, and everybody is standing on that line with their own differences, with their own personal challenges. But at the end of it, when you think of, just stretch your imagination now to the passing out parade.
Yes. Which
When
we will show in a while.
everybody exactly, when everybody works like clockwork. And this is where the institution really stands up and takes notice, because the institution now recognizes we have a potential unit here to be able to deliver on our mandate to the wider country. Here we have people who can respond to instructions at a moment's notice and work together. And this is what this is all about.
I remember the Sergeant Major telling us, somebody was telling about Sergeant Major Modeste when he was supervising some drill, and he said to the instructor, move that right marker and put a stone.
Okay, come back to us now, short man. Come back to the studio.
Sergeant Major, remember that?
Of course.
He said the right marker.
If Sergeant Edwards, retired Warrant Edwards now, was he still listening? Remember that?
He said, move that right marker and put a stone. He ain't good at all. But let's go to a quick break, folks. And when we return, we will show you the end product, which was the passing out parade in Tetron Barracks. Just recently, the joint passing out parade between Air Guard, Coast Guard, and Regiment. We will hear from Sergeant Major Modeste the role of a warrant officer, class 2 and 1, because that's an esteemed role for a non-commissioned officer. And of course, we have that video to show you from the Special Forces in Action, where Major Jack, as a foundation member, and then the gentleman will speak to the family what is expected of them when a relative joined the military. So let's go to that quick break. We'll be back. Stay right there, gentlemen. We'll be back.
Some of them wearing stripe on their hand. Stay home. Stay away from people. You have been warned.
Agricola is back with loan promotions that will make you go wow! Wow! The computer and internet bundle CIB loan. Get a maximum of $15,000 with just a 0.75% interest rate. Call or come into our offices at Pro Queen Street, Arima, 667-7633. Pamela's Mall, Marabella, 219-7745. Scarborough, Tobago, 639-6468. Or Port of Spain, 627-3127. Agricola Credit Union, your very own, working for you.
Hello, my name is Marsha, and you're listening to Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha, Trinidad and Tobago.
All right.
Don't
No
you
problem.
dare traffic drugs.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. No problem. Yeah?
Parents, employers, the COVID-19 virus may have brought financial and emotional stress. Coping with these stresses can lead to making unlawful decisions, like taking a child out of school to work in order to help the family survive. It is illegal for children below age 16 to be employed in Trinidad and Tobago. Replacing a child's education with work is child labor, which is a serious offense and attracts a penalty of up to $25,000 and 6 months in prison. Do the right thing. Do not make our children victims of child labor. Visit TT Connect at www.ttconnect.gov.tt for psychological and financial support services. If you spot child labor, report it to the Labor Inspectorate Unit at 299-0300. Option 3. Childline at 131 or the Children's Authority at 996. Commemorating the International Year for the Elimination of Child Labor. A message from the Ministry of Labor.
clothes to wear, no food to eat. How come this army chief and
All right, thank you for staying with us.
staying with
You're
us.
listening to Our Dependency, and we are speaking with retired Colonel Lyle Alexander, Major Doddridge Jack, and retired Regimental Sergeant Major Gilbert Modeste. And gentlemen, moving right into it quickly, Major Jack, we'll come back with you. Shortman, if you could show that video D. This is the Special Forces Unit. And we asked Major to speak to that because there are a number of people.
If you make yourself more than just a man, if you devote yourself to an ideal, then you become something else entirely. A legend, Mr. Wayne. A legend. We will write this together.
Right, Major, this is a unit, most coveted unit, respected as well, but a lot of young men try to aspire to this. What is expected of our special forces, so like you being a foundation member of the special forces?
Well, to respond to that, God, I will say all that is expected of soldiers within the framework of the institution that is the military, and more. And more in the sense that the special forces, members who qualify to be part of the special forces, those in-depth tests, psychologically, mentally, physically, and otherwise, that Major Modeste spoke about earlier in the normal run of things, they go through that in an amplified way.
Right.
The outcome, too, is in the context of being in the theater to apply it a little more, because your time doesn't become your own once you're in the SF, right? Your time is not your own when you're in the SF. So there's a little more burden when you reach the family life side with regard to the support of such individuals who would go to another higher level, which is a more intense level of skill training, non-military skill training as well, mindsets that create greater demands on you.
Right.
Right? To operate long term out there under very hard conditions and so on. You are trained in all that. But you must qualify from a very rigorous selection process. Very, very rigorous selection process to be a part of the special forces. It is indeed special, but nonetheless, from the body of the institution called the military. Right? Its demands are a little different, or sometimes different, but the foundation of it all is the institution.
Okay, understood. And Sir Major, as the role of a warrant officer class 2 and 1, when you attain that rank, how important is it? What is expected of you then, and the responsibilities that you would have?
Well, before I go touch on that, I listen to Major Jack, and I would say very modest when he talk about the requirements to be a special forces man.
Right.
Because I mean, a recruit training is not the easiest thing.
Yes.
But I would say that joy in comparison to what they had to go through.
I understand. I could imagine.
It should be.
Yes. Warrant officers class 2 and class 1. Now, if I had to equate a warrant officer class 2 or warrant officer, warrant class 2, there are a lot of warrant officer class 2 in different parts of the institution. In the rifle companies or in the other units, the warrant officer class 2 is responsible to the company commander for the discipline and the general running of things within his unit, subunit. You hear me?
Yes, Sir Major, go ahead.
Good. Now, if I had to equate him to maybe a civilian, I would have said you the kind of foreman.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Right? You have to make sure that everything is run in a certain way that is pleasing to the boss, the company commander. And by the same tone, or at a higher level, the W1 or the regimental Sir Major, as I want, he is responsible for the commanding officer. So the general tone and run of things in the battalion. Now, I don't want to elaborate too much, but different units, sub-units make up a big unit, if you understand what I'm saying.
Understand.
Right? So, it's not that a warrant officer class 2 will be only relegated to company or the line, what you call the line company, the people will normally see on the front and time of crisis. Right? There are other subunits, because of course the military is a way of life. They have everything that you might have outside, cook, cobbler, everything. You understand?
Yes.
Right. So those guys make sure that things run a certain way. You remember, we were based on discipline, teamwork. So a certain standard have to be maintained. And those guys, W2s, W1s, they have to ensure, right? With, of course, the help of the NCOs, the main set of people, Lance Corporal, Corporal, Sergeant, Staff Sergeant, they have to make sure that things go a certain way. Now, I've seen warrant officer class 2 and warrant officer class 1. It goes the opposite, maybe from civilian life. In civilian life, 2 higher than 1. In the military, that's just the opposite. 1 is higher than a 2. Right? So you will be a staff sergeant, a warrant officer class 2, and a warrant officer class 1.
Right.
At that rank, you're at the pinnacle of your career as an enlisted man.
Right.
Any promotion after that will be into the exalted rank of officers.
All right. So before we go, Before we go to the gentlemen, as usual, when you're doing something like this program, time really flies with you, eh? And so Colonel, before we go to that video of the personal parade, quickly, from Mr. Vidale, of course, he wanted to throw out the Defense Force. Well, the Volunteer Defense Force, they were part of the 1970, and they actually saved the day. And he under Captain Alwyn Vidale. So, but you actually elaborated on the reserves, and I guess just to recognize the role of the Volunteer Defense Force played back then too, as well.
Oh yeah, certainly. The Volunteer Defense Force in Trinidad and Tobago has established itself as an integral component of the Defense Force.
Right.
We go back to 1970 and also 1990. The fantastic jobs were done by this unit. But I just want to comment on the warrant officer level that you were talking about, and just give a commanding officer's perspective of where the warrant officers fall in.
Lovely.
As a commanding officer, if you are tasked with a particular job, and the person who is doing that job, let's say, is at the platoon level, and the platoon commander, who would have been a lieutenant, is tasked with this job on behalf of the battalion. And when it's time to deliver, or just about time to execute, as the commanding officer, you ask the platoon commander, "Are we ready?" And the platoon commander says to you, "Yes, sir, we are." You are not satisfied as the commanding officer until you can turn to the warrant officer and ask the question, "Are we ready?" Until that warrant officer says, "Yes, sir," then we're not ready.
Lovely. Understood. I mean, you can't put it better than that. So Sherman, let's go to the video. Let's go to that video now. We go to the video of the recent passing out parade, and we'll start from the arrival of the Minister of National Security. Get in before we sign off, because I see the time already. So let's go to it now. Right, so what we having for our radio audience is the march on of the regiment band before the troops would take the parade square. So,
and this is the passing out of all the formations of the Defense Force,
yes.
Regiment, Coast Guard, Air Guard.
Air Guard, yes. The three formations. The three formations will be Air Guard, Coast Guard, and Regiment.
Yes.
And here they come now, they're coming onto the parade square.
And I know the minister remarked that the soldiers and sailors and air guardsmen looked very young. They look like very tender age. I mean, these are the
18, eh? That's 18
yes,
is the requirement to join.
they all
so
look very
18 to 25.
like boys. Yeah.
Right. So
well, the institution will turn them into men. Very
so here they come. They're marching on in quick time.
We all did look that way.
Say that again, Colonel?
Yeah.
I said we all did look that way at some stage.
It's true.
Yes.
But they're looking sharp though. Sharp.
Yeah, here this is the Coast Guard detachment here coming up on your screen now. And followed by another detachment of the regiment.
One of the symbols of transformation.
Yes.
Well, yes. This is after the holy man to drill and play the tassa drum for the night of March. This is the end result of it here. Now, and it's a miracle to know that the instructors actually turn men who could hardly walk and chew gum at the same time into this. What we see here now.
Men and women. Yes. Reminded.
Men and women.
Men and women. I'm guided. Thank you very much.
Right.
Soldiers and yes, but this is the right. So they would and here comes. This is the arrival of the Minister of National Security.
You know what I wondered? Can anyone answer why some of the women are wearing skirts? Is that to differentiate them from their male counterparts, or no? Is there some reason for that?
I ain't getting involved. Now, Colonel or
That's just
Major
a form. That's just a form of dress.
is a form of dress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because Natasha was asking that during the whole parade, even though the adjutant and all. She was
Yeah,
asking why she
because
wearing a skirt.
why?
You know?
Yeah. It's a form of dress.
Well, you know,
But remember in the military there are different forms of dress too as well. Eh?
Yeah.
I guess.
So and
So we have now the Minister of National Security being escorted by the Chief of Defense Staff. And who's that behind them?
this would be Coast Guard, accompanied by Coast Guard personnel and Air Guard.
Right. So he's what would you call he's taking the salute? What is he?
Who
The minister.
Major, could you take us through this or the Colonel, could you no, Major Jack?
At this stage, what he received there was the general salute.
Right.
Right. That was before, when he was out before, and now the parade commander is reporting to him and seeking his permission to carry on with the parade.
Right.
Yes. So the first part was when he arrived, he was a recipient of a general salute.
Present arms.
Okay.
And then having returned to order arms and so on, the parade commander then comes forward to seek his permission to carry on with the parade. Notably, in this one, they would have a point there where he would go to inspect the parade, but it seems that was left out on this occasion.
Yes, for the interest of time.
Yeah.
Okay. In that regard, you mean?
I'm imagining, or probably they eliminated it in the editing.
Okay.
I would have to ask. Yeah.
Yes. No, but I don't think when I'm looking at the parade, I don't think possibly he did a review of the troops. I don't know, but we edited it.
Possibly.
Yes, we edited it in the interest of time.
But left out that part.
Right. And so now they are going to be.
Oh,
now she's preparing the troops for the march past in slow and quick time.
Right. And she, as the parade commander, what would be her rank?
Oh, that could be anything from Lieutenant Coast Guard and up.
Okay.
Or Lieutenant Regiment and up.
No.
Okay.
Normally it would be a captain or major.
Okay.
Major. Lieutenant Commander, probably, or squadron. Pre-squadron leader in the Air Guard, a Lieutenant Commander in the Coast Guard, or a major in the regiment.
Okay.
So we're seeing all the formations lined up ready to start their march.
The march past.
The march past.
Slow and quick time.
Okay, so just to clarify, Major, Colonel, and Sir Major, the minister did not review the troops.
Right,
that was avoided because of our COVID. Yes. So, thank you, Minister, for that update.
Slow march.
So this is the slow march now, and this is what instructors have to teach civilians coming off the street, joining the military, teach them how to march in slow and quick time.
Is there a technique to this? God was trying to explain the technique to this, which
there is a technique to it.
Because it's supposed to look a certain way. What is the look what is the feel that we're going for with this particular march style?
You should be seeing shooting and gliding.
Shooting
the left forward and gliding the right foot to complete the movement forward.
Right.
with the toes pointed and you're gliding on the side of the boat.
Pointed slightly downwards and outwards.
Natasha.
Yes.
Natasha don't believe a word of what they're telling you now. You need to go onto the square and get somebody to.
And God was saying when we were watching this, he was saying some of these soldiers looking very stiff, like you have no kind of.
Why you have to bring that to the public?
Because They have no swag about them. They know. I don't know if there's a swag. I mean, of course, you're supposed to be, erect and precise in your movement.
There's a little swagger too.
A little swag.
Yeah, but if you get
Yeah.
if you to relax, we say you're idle.
Do you want me to mention the hard egg?
Finish off, Natasha. Finish off. Okay.
A certain Sam Major. A certain Sam Major gave some advice, some very colorful advice to the recruits on how not to clench their buttocks, but that's for another time.
As the minister says, although the batch were in a bubble, and after the 3 months, there was not one case of COVID. That too was,
Yes.
to manage all those recruits. That's commendable. We have to give the regiment kudos for that.
Yep.
The Defense Force kudos for that, for being able to manage all those troops and not one case of COVID. Well done.
Yep.
Well done. Well done to the training company.
Just as you're seeing this unit marching past there again, just take your mind back to the video that you looked at with the guy who was trying to mark time.
That's
Yes. Yes.
And appreciate the difference.
right. Yes. And now this is the end result of all that hard work.
Yep.
See, when I heard what they tell me about, take him in the back and shoot him. The fella not good. The guys call him more. Give him extra drill. We did that already, sir. Give him more drill. We did that already, sir. We'll take him in the back and shoot him then. Well, he must start to cry. The kind of things you hear on a parade square during, these sessions is amazing. It never leave you. You'll never forget. And now we have the march past in quick time.
In the quick time.
Right.
Right. So we get a little bit of this before we wrap up. This is really interesting.
But,
it's really nice to
while
see. No, go ahead, sir.
If I may, at least to the people who are viewing this program at the moment and thinking about or having a desire to join,
Mm-hmm.
now is a good time to reflect on what is motivating them to join the organization, and that this particular event, you can probably feel your heart pumping through your chest at this stage of the game from pride.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And to understand that the organization, the institution accepts everyone, anyone, providing you meet the particular standard.
Yep.
So this is the attachment.
You actually can be a see yourself in one of these ranks marching past on a graduation parade.
Yes, yes. And gentlemen, I'm sure I don't know if this happens to you still, Sam Major and everybody, but every time I see this, I always get goosebumps. Every time.
Yes, sir, definitely. Even as I'm shocked.
I get goosebumps just watching it.
But I have to say the Coast Guard uniform is really, really fresh and tight. I prefer their uniform. It looks, not that I have a problem with army green, but
I wonder if that's one time.
not that I have an issue with army green, because I have a husband and I have a brother as well who served in the regiment. So I've seen my fair share of army greens, but I like the Coast Guard uniform.
Yeah, her brother was an Arthur Nunes gentleman. Who had a dog named Corporal.
The musician?
Yes, that's the one and same.
Right. So let's hear Mr. Hines quickly and what he had to say.
Members of Recruit Intake 2101 of the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment and the 56th Recruit Intake of the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard and the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment, the Coast Guard and the Air Guard. First, I must commend all of the 153 of you for choosing the Defense Force as a career, demonstrating your leaders, sailors and airmen who are proficient at all military requirements. Ultimately, military training transforms a civilian member of society into a military serviceman or woman who is dedicated to serving his or her country. That makes you very different from your friends, members of your family, your neighbor, who now do not have the training and the discipline or the purpose that you do. Therefore, it is my sincere expectation that
Call it Morgan. So
Yes,
yeah, we could.
in the interest of time, and you see how close we are to 12, so this was
Yes.
just done. But gentlemen, we have to do this program again. We have several people. We have our ambassador to Washington, D.C., sending his greetings.
Anthony Philip Spencer.
And
He says, good morning, Garth, Natasha, Colonel Lyle, Major Jack, Mr. Modeste. Happy to see you preserving the health of our profession, particularly by providing public education and understanding via this medium.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. You
I
all
would
have.
like to say.
Yes.
I would like to say one thing, that if you permit me.
Yes, Amaja, go ahead. You have a minute.
There's two pieces in two ways as a military man, and I'm sure the colonel and the major might have agreed. One, the recognition of military ID cards in Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
And two, this might concern the regiment more. More exposure to the public about the regiment. We used to have things like open day and other things that the public would come, the young ones would come and see, and that would have had an influence on the way of life or the choice of profession. Thank you.
Major Jack.
Well, all I would say is, from start to finish, the military, and in this case, the regiment, is an institution. I am one who believes that, having participated in the process of development to be a soldier, that you would find that you have the opportunity as an ordinary person to become special. Camaraderie, esprit de corps, teamwork, rooted in discipline and order, is a quality definition of an individual that could contribute to the well-being and development of communities, and so on. I have been proud to serve, and even in retirement, I am ready for the call at any time.
How many years did you serve?
Age not even age considered.
How many years did you serve, Major? How many years did you give the colors?
Hello?
27 years and 2 months.
Sir Major, how many years did you give the colors?
30 years, 323 days, and 6 years with the reserve.
Wow. And Colonel Alexander, you have the final closing remarks, sir.
All right, I guess I will put my number up there too. A total of 34 years service.
Right.
And 34. And I would just like again to tell that person who is looking on with a desire to join the military that yes, there is an opportunity for you to do that. And I can guarantee that if you approach it with the right mindset, it will probably be the best decision you make in your life.
Yes. Yes.
And all concur.
And we all concur with that. Gentlemen, you all have been fantastic. Thank you. As usual, I didn't expect anything less, and I'm sure the audience didn't either. Thank you all so much for allowing us this contribution, sharing your contribution with us and consenting to do this program. I am aware of this, not lost on us, that we had a whole colonel, a whole major, and a regimental sergeant major, all well respected in Trinidad and Tobago. God bless you all. Thank you for your service. We really appreciate you. And we will keep you informed on the part 2 of this program.
Yeah, because a lot of persons on Facebook are asking for a follow-up.
Yes.
So we might have to invite you back again, but thank you all of you for your time this morning.
Major Jack, I know you would have the time to, you probably go on our Facebook page, and if you could answer some questions too for the discerning members of the public, we really appreciate it. Thank you once again, folks. We've got to run.
Some of them wearing stripe on their hand.